You try to plan your whole life. You go to school, you get degrees. I spent 10 years studying physics. And these things affect your life, but things that you never expect serendipitously.
It took a long time to get here. I mean, it was like the end of the world. Coming from Istanbul, it was like, I don't know how many hours the bus would take, but it was endless. And you'd come to Mumcula, which is where the road went in the old days. And when you were in Mumcula, there was a sign saying like 30 kilometers to Bodrum, and you thought, oh, I'm getting there. And then you weren't getting there. It was like another huge trip through the woods, and you just kept on like, oh, this pearl you knew you were going to see. Where is it? Where is it? And suddenly you were up on the hill, and you looked down, and this was like, I mean, you almost couldn't breathe. It was so beautiful. And so this beautiful little pearl of a village, and you would come down and just amazing. Lots of beautiful green mandarin gardens and little boats lying in front of the castle, and just tranquil and like paradise. This is what you felt when you came to Bodrum. That this was a place you, in a way, could never leave. And I think a lot of people have actually felt that have you once fallen in love with Bodrum, you can't leave. And that's definitely how I felt.
Yokuş başına geldiğinde Bodrum'u göreceksin. Sanma ki sen geldiğin gibi gideceksin. Senden öncekiler de böyleydiler. Akıllarını hep Bodrum'da bırakıp gittiler.
Two things that affected my life were summer school in Mexico City, where I suddenly decided I want to live in a foreign country. I really love that. And then maybe also that I shared an office with a man who said, if you're looking for a job, why don't you try Robert College in Istanbul? I did, and they gave me a job. But the real serendipitous thing was at a New Year's Eve party in 1968 at 10:30, because that's when I met a Turkish diver, Tosun Sezen, and Tosun said to me that there was an American excavating a Roman shipwreck in the summers at Yasada, and I said, oh, this would be fantastic. So I wrote George Bass and said, can I volunteer? And he said, well, come try it out.
Because they lived off their mandarins, they had sponges a little bit, fishing.
Downtown was a bunch of little shops.
It was sort of like a hand-to-mouth existence. Everybody had little gardens, and they had their own chickens and little bacal where you bought your soap.
I believe only one hotel, maybe two, that had 10 or 12 beds. There were 2 or 3 restaurants.
I mean, it was just absolutely beautiful. That was when I just arrived for the first time. It was just the most amazing place I'd ever seen. And I lived there for the summer with a group of archaeologists. But we used to run across the street and jump into the water every morning, right in front of the Jami. Beautiful, clean water. The second time I came is when I met Don, and that of course was another interesting aspect of being in a small place, because in those days you weren't allowed to really hold hands or show affection on the streets. Curiosity was enormous because they hadn't really seen tourism, and a young woman with blonde hair. And once I counted, I think, 40 little boys following me everywhere I went. And then after them, the dogs.
But I went through 1 summer, 2 summers, 3 summers.
We decided that we wanted to live here for a winter.
And so I asked George Bass whether I might work with him full time, just for a year or 2. And he said sure, because he had started a new institute, and that was in 1974, I think. And so it was for a year or 2, and I'm still here.
What good is sitting alone in your room? Come hear the music play. My music cabaret on summer. Come to the cabaret.
Ben İstanbul'dan Bodrum'a geldiğimde, Milas yokuşundan yukarı çıkmaya başladığımda, yani o Bodrum Yarımadası'nı ilk hissetmeye başladığım anda nefes alışım bile değişiyor. Mutlu olduğumu ve yaşadığımı hissediyorum. Nefes alma, yaşama ve de o yaşadıklarınızı düşünceye çevirme şansınız oluyor. Bodrum havasıyla, tabiatıyla yaşanacak bir yer.
İstanbul'daydım. İstanbul'da Boğaziçi'nin Robert Koleji bitirdim ve arkadaşlarımın çoğu büyük işlere girdi. Ben de İstanbul'un trafiğinden ömür boyu nefret ettim. Ve dolayısıyla o zaman orada hocalık yapan Frey diye adındaki bir fizikçi, "Ya Tufan, biz Bodrum'da bir araştırma yapıyoruz, National Geographic'le beraber, gelir misin?" dedi. Ben dedim, yazın boş, geleyim, geliş o geliş.
We are still living in Bodrum more or less as a small town. I mean, if you compare it to Istanbul, Izmir, Bodrum is a small town. Now the peninsula has grown, but I sit here only 3 minutes from the waterfront. And when I walk along the waterfront, I see ships, beautiful yachts, many of them wooden boats that were built here. And between them, I look out onto the open sea.
Dedim ki çok mutluyum. Çünkü mevsim olarak bana çok uygun. Arkadaşlar sorduğunda Bodrum mevsimi nasıl diye sorduklarında tek cevabım var. Biz Bodrum'da 2 ay yaz, 10 ay bahar yaşıyoruz diye. Hakikaten de ilk yağmurların düşmesinden sonra, o sıcak yazdan sonra, o yağmura aç olan toprak o suyu emdikten sonra her taraf yemyeşil oluyor. Ve Haziran'ın ortasına kadar da öyle yemyeşilde kalıyor. Zannediyorum burada yaşayan insanların da ruhu ve yaşantısı da öyle yeşil kalıyor. Son zamanlarda Bodrum'un çehresi değişti. Hem çevre değişti, inşaatlar, binalar.
In a way, we're very lucky that they tried to preserve the style of Bodrum and did not allow houses bigger than 2 stories.
Bazen arkadaşlarla da konuşuyorum. Çoğunda söylediği gibi, ah eski Bodrum, vah eski Bodrum. Ben o eski Bodrum rüyasıyla her gün sabah kalkıp ağlamak yerine şu anda elimde olanla mutlu olmaya çalışıyorum. Evet, hakikaten her taraf bina doldu. Benim o kaçıp geldiğim trafiğimiz neredeyse İstanbul'unkinden beter ama yani güzel tarafını insan aradığı vakit bulabiliyor. Mesela şimdi nefes al.
Çünkü çok huzurlusunuz. Çünkü mutlusunuz. Çünkü seviyorsunuz. Sevginin taştığı ve de kendini hissettirdiği yerde başarının ve sanatsal üretimin olmaması mümkün değil.
I'm a Swiss sailor, come from the mountains, but I was always on the sea. And then I arrived with my 60 years. And what shall I do with 60? I'm retired. Okay. I try to find a good place, and I have checked between my time where are the best place for racing, and then I have found Bodrum. Bodrum is really one of the beautiful places I have met. For me, money is not important. One is not, healthness is important. I can't buy sunshine, I can't buy blue heaven. It's here, it's here.
Dünyayı dolaştığınız zaman işte kimi yerde deniz kirli, işte kimi yerinin rüzgarı yetersiz, işte yani karşılaştırma yaptığınız zaman hakikaten Bodrum dünyanın önemli yelken merkezlerinden biri olmayı hak ediyor.
Three, two, one, go!
Startta bu iş kazanılıyor. Start 10 dakikası düdüğü çaldıktan sonra ve start düdüğü çaldıktan sonra heyecan dorukta oluyor. Ve devam ediyoruz biz. Tabii bu heyecan finish hattına kadar devam ediyor.
Bodrum bugün hakikaten gerek Türkiye çapında gerek Avrupa'da en iyi yelken yapılabilecek bölgelerden biri olmaya başladı. Biz buradan 16 sene önce işte ahşap tekne yarışlarıyla başlayan bir akım yavaş yavaş bizlerin yani marinalardaki yelken kulüplerinde açılmasıyla çok büyük önem kazanmaya başladı.
Önceden sünger çıkardı, boldu. Onu satıyorduk, para kazanıyorduk. Bodrum'un geçimi bununla sağlanıyordu, Narenciye ile beraber. Fakat daha sonra bu turizm buraya geldikten sonra artık her şey değişti.
Bodrum'da bir değişim süreci yaşanıyor bence.
It's sort of like you lose your town, you don't know anybody anymore. I mean, the people you know are still there, but there's so many others that they disappear. And I just feel very it's a lonely feeling. You suddenly you don't really, your friends are not visible anymore.
Şimdi Bodrum o kadar büyüdü ve gelişti ki artık biraz şehir hayatına benzer yaşam şekilleri oluştu. Evler daha fazla konforlaştı. İşte sinemalar var.
Olay turizme kaydı. Yani bizim burayı tanıtan sağ olsun eskiler, başımız Zeki Müren, Cevat Şakir Kabaağaçlı, Sadun Bora.
Elbet bir gün buluşacağız, bu böyle yarım.
I was thinking the other day how great it would be to have a little bench outside so I could watch the people. Because that's what we used to do up on the square. We all sat together, the whole neighborhood, and just looked at life passing by and whatever. And I thought that would be, I miss that.
Yani bu değişim de normal çünkü dünyanın her yerinde, her yerleşim bölgesinde büyük değişimler yaşanıyor. Herkes Bodrum'u çok sevdiği için Bodrum'a biraz daha fazla yükleniyor bu konuda. Bu değişimden rahatsız olan insanlar. İşte bu değişimi biraz daha iyiye nasıl götürürüz? Herkesin oturup onu düşünmesi gerekiyor bence. Yani değişimi engellemenin imkanı yok. Gece hayatı da tabii bu değişimle beraber değişik şekiller alıyor.
In addition to just out and out tourism, we have a boat building and maintenance community of people.
Valla benim ustam rahmetli oldu, Ziya Usta, Ziya Tünay. Ama onun esas ustası Ziya Güvendiren vardı. Burada ilk işi başlatan o. Halen daha el emeğiyle neler yaptığımızı gelip gördükler zaman benim buraya her gün hiç yoksa 10 kişi ziyarete gelir, fotoğraf çekilir, video kamera gezilir yani.
In the winter, we are actually still a working town.
But in the winter, like now, life comes back. You start stopping and talking to friends that you haven't seen. It's always like that. It's sort of like everybody's been away, even though they've all been here. You haven't seen each other since May, and now, come October, suddenly they appear again, and this time is just wonderful. And I'm back on my bike along the waterfront, and it's like your town is back where you love it.
I come not to bury Caesar, I come to praise him.
En uygun yerin benim yaşam biçimime neresi olduğunu düşünürken Bodrum'da antik tiyatronun karşısında satılan bir evi beğendim ve aldım. Arkaya dönüp yolun kenarına çıktığım zaman karşımda 2500 kişilik antik 2500 yıllık bir muhteşem de tiyatro binası var. Bodrumlular o tiyatroyu çok sevdiler biliyorsunuz. Çok bağırlarına bastılar, çok korudular, çok sahiplendiler. Teker teker taşları söküp götürdüler, evlerine bahçe duvarı yaptılar o tiyatronun taşlarından.
It is a Crusader castle that then became abandoned. At one point it was a prison. It was built, as you say, a lot of the stones in the castle came from stones from the mausoleum and from other houses or monuments here.
But this is the Carrier Princess. But the most important thing about this, if we're talking about Bodrum, is you never know what you're going to dig up when you decide to make a construction. And I was there for the opening of the sarcophagus because someone just called me by chance. They lifted off the lid, and there were a lot of villagers nearby, and they all started shouting, "Altın, altın, altın!"
What's important about the Bodrum Museum is it is a unique museum in the world as a museum of classical underwater archaeology.
Biz su altı arkeolojisinde dünyanın lideriyiz.
We have in the Bodrum Museum, we have the oldest shipwreck ever excavated. The oldest really full, complete shipwreck, the so-called Uluburun shipwreck.
Dünya bilim otoriteleri Uluburun kazısını geçtiğimiz yüzyılın en önemli 10 arkeolojik olayının kazısının arasına koyuyor. Yani piramitlerin bulunuşu ki muhteşem bir olay, onlarla aynı seviyede olan bir kazı.
This was an incredible royal exchange of goods, most probably between two rulers, and this was a terrible loss for someone because with 11 tons of bronze you could have outfit an army with swords and shields and, knives, weapons, axes. Very valuable. I mean, try to imagine 3,300 years ago making a kilo of copper, 5 kilos of copper, 10 kilos of copper, 100, 1,000, 10,000 kilos of copper.
Çünkü bir klişe gibi ama batan bir gemi zaman kapsülü gibi.
And it had on it an incredible find, the only gold scarab of Queen Nefertiti that's ever been found. We have the remains of a number of other shipwrecks on display. In particular, we have the one we call the glass wreck, which is 1,000 years old.
In Serchiliman when we did the glass wreck. I was there as the photographer and worked in the dark room and built my own house actually out of mosquito netting in Hazar and lived there for the whole summer, which was great fun. Went diving with Don also.
What I do, though, is I'm not an archaeologist. I have no training in archaeology. But I have 37 consecutive summers underwater excavating and looking for shipwrecks. Take pictures of what is happening on the seabed as it's happening. It's sort of like dancing, Your partner's going, and you have to not do kaboom, kaboom, kaboom, kaboom, but you have to fit in with. And so
Ever since I came here, the first thing I wanted was my bike, and I had to go to Izmir and buy. There was no bikes in Bodrum, so I went and bought a Chinese man's bike because that's all you could buy. And that I had here for years and years, and even when I was pregnant with Kristen, I'd be riding my bike. To all the women's great dismay, because they thought it was very dangerous that I was on a bike, swinging my leg up backwards with one child in the back and one in front, and I never stopped biking because being a Dane, you can't live without your bike.
Bodrum içinde her şey olan ve her türlü tadın bir araya geldiği ve birleşmesiyle çok güzel bir lezzet veren bir yer bence.
I can't buy sunshine, I can't buy blue heaven. It's here.
Sonra insanların hatırlaması lazım. Bu benim hemşerim Herodot'un yaşadığı kent.
I come out in the morning and I have to sweep down the dirt and I think about life and how pretty the weather is, how privileged I am to live in Bodrum.
It's a great place also to bring up children.
Hem bir insanın büyük şehirde arzu duyabileceği şeyleri sunması, hem de bir yandan istediği anda bütün insanların arasından kaybolup tek başına denizle baş başa kalabileceği bir yer benim için Bodrum.
Bodrum bence yani aşkın en güzel yaşanabileceği yöre.
Her yerde nur içinde yatılıyor, Bodrum'da nur içinde yaşanıyor.
Don and I this is morbid maybe, but we just talked about where we were going to be buried recently. And we both agreed, somewhere out there.